Talmud, though, yeah.
The purchase set?
So it says here. You don't have the.
Good morning, Abaisai. We are learning today Menachos Daf Nun Vov. We're going to be starting Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis towards the bottom. We start in the last few words of the first wide line in the bottom of Nun Hey Amud Beis. The Gemara says, "Ashta denofkalim v'shochat esachatos." This has to do with yesterday's daf. There's a limud that we learn v'shochat esachatos. Oiso lemutimai. So we had what the Gemara in yesterday's daf brought was if you have the pasuk referring to the seir nasi, the goat that a king brings when he brings a korban, it says the word oisoi. Oisoi means that's the only one that you do it in the north side of Beis Hamikdash. You're going to exclude something. So Gemara yesterday tried to say maybe you come to include all the korbanos chatos, regular chatos. The Gemara said no. So says the Gemara, if so, oiser lemutimai. What is oiser coming to exclude? They will not have the din to put it on the north side of Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara says lemute. Now here you have the parentheses. Usually we don't read the parentheses, but here the parentheses are actually very helpful. I mean, they're always helpful, but not always we understand how helpful it is. Here it's very clear. What does the Yerushalmi tell us? What does the parenthesis tell us? Nachshoin, v'shochat, oif, b'pesach. These are the four answers we can have over here in the Gemara. Nachshoin, shochat, oif, b'pesach. Let's see. Answer number one. Oiso b'tzofoin v'sir nachshoin b'tzofoin. What is sir nachshoin? Sir nachshoin is the seirim that were brought in the Nisim. When they built the Mishkan, the Nisim brought a korbanos on the first day. That was a unique korban because that korban was not required. It was a donation. And still, one of them was a chatos. Usually a chatos comes only in a chet. There was no chet over here. And they brought a korban chatos. It's a unique chatos. That chatos is now required to be in the north side of Beis Hamikdash, or the Mishkan. So, now, why would I think we'll need the tzofin? We found that regarding the seirim of the Nisim, you need to do smicha, you need to lean in it fully like you do a regular korban chatos. So maybe you'll also need to have the north like a regular chatos. Kamash malan. So with smicha gufa we know. How do you know you have to lean in it? The Tanya, it says in the Brayso. It says in the pasuk, we know we're talking about that pasuk about the goat. So she should just say samach olav. Why it says samach yoda roish haseir? Tell you all the seir you need to have smicha, including the nasi. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Sheminoimer l'rabbi seir with that from v'mudal v'dab l'rabbi seiri avois kechavim l'smicha. That also seem avoid the zoro, the one Ami Yisrael does the chait of the zoro mistake. And the being the seir, as we learn in Seches Hariyos, you have to have smicha. So according we have machlekes here. What needs smicha? Is it the seir of the Nisim or the seir of the zoro? So maybe the pasuk that tells you Oysa is going to tell you don't have to have the north by the Nasi because you do have to have smicha. So maybe you have to have the north as well. That's a chiddush. Says the Gemara, that's very good according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds that we're talking about the seir Nasi needs to have smicha, we just learned. But according to Rabbi Shimon, that holds that seir Nasi doesn't have to have smicha. So if so, you don't have a reason to think you'll need to have the north. That's what you'll say over there. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, have a problem. Only what was added, meaning we found you have to do smicha, but it doesn't say tzafon. Why would you think you have to do smicha? You have to do tzafon as well. Maybe he'll tell you, listen, you're right. I don't learn it from, there's no limud to tell you this. But binyan means we found other chatois that require this. So we say, oh, so this requires it. Says the Gemara, that's not true. So why do you need a pasuk for smicha? According to Rabbi Yehuda, you should learn on its own. Of course, that's binyan. You have to have smicha. You don't learn Shah. Shah means Seir Nasi was a one-time event in the whole history of Klal Yisrael. Doira is what's going to be. It was every generation. You can't learn a more temporary event from a permanent thing. So therefore, you have to have a special pasuk. If you have to have a special pasuk, why would I think north there's no special pasuk? So in other words, what is the Gemara saying? The Gemara is slugging up our answer. We said, what is the Oisoy of Sir Nasi going to tell you? That you don't have north by Nachshon, by Sir Nasi. Why would I think you have to have a north by Nachshon? I have no pasuk to tell me that. So the Gemara says, I don't have a source. And if you don't have a source, there's no reason to say it. I don't have to have a pasuk to exclude it. So back to stage one, why do you need to have Oisoy? So that was option one, as we said in parentheses. What's option two? The Shochat. What was going to tell us Shochat? Elo. If you remember, we learned in Masechet Tzvachim, you have to we put the animal on the north side of the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan. But the person who's doing the Shechita doesn't have to be in the north. He could be standing in the south and just putting his hand into the north, right? You have as if a boundary, imaginary boundary between the south side of Beis Hamikdash and the north side of Beis Hamikdash. The person could be standing in the south side and putting his hand into the north and doing Shechita over there. So says the Gemara, that's what he did. Oisoi is the animal, not the person. Says the Gemara, we have a different source for that. It says you have to shecht it on the north. Found the one who receives the blood. He needs to be in the north and accepted in the north. But if he stood in the south and he accepted in the north, it's possible. How do we know that? That a Makabel, the receiving of the blood, needs to be in the north. The Gemara doesn't address it right now. The Gemara will address it in one moment. So right now, the Gemara is assuming we know that. The Makabel, Kabbalah, needs to be in the north. Yechezkel could be Shechita, will also be north. Come to tell you that only the Mikabel needs to be the Tzafon, but not the Shoichet. So if so, I already have a pasuk to tell you it doesn't have to be in the north. So again, why do we have to have Oisoi Basir Nasi? So option number two, the Gemara slugged up as well. Now we get to option number three. What was option number three in the parentheses? Oif. Very good. So now we get to option number three. Elo Yisab Tzafon, Ven bin Oif Tzafon. When you bring a bird to Beis Hamikdash, you don't have to be on the north. Maybe you'll learn a bird from an animal of Kavachemer. An animal, they don't have a kohen. You need to have a kohen by an animal. Who could do shechita? Anybody could do shechita. The owner could do shechita. But you still have to have a tzafon, kaval tzafon, bin oif, shekaval kohen. Who could shech the benoif? How do you shech the benoif? With a finger. In the basement, you shech with a finger. Oif is a bird. Yeah. Who are you shech the oif, a bird? With a finger with a nail. Only one who could do that is the kohen. And you know, din shekaval tzafon, of course you have to have the north. So you learn from there. Mal ben tzafon, so you can kaval the kli. 1 second. How do you shech an animal? With a knife. So maybe there you have a knife. You see, it's more important now where you have to have a knife. By shaking the bird, you do with your finger. So the Gemara says, so I don't have a reason to think it's the north. I don't have to pasuk for that. So I go now to option number 4. What was option number 4 in the parentheses? Pesach. Hello, so and then Pesach Batzafo. And you know, the Yom we're getting there in the next few weeks. Korban Pesach is Hashem. We're going to be in Yerushalayim in just a few weeks, and we're going to be doing Korban Pesach. So do we have to do the Korban Pesach on the north side of Beis Hamikdash? The way we're going to know that from Vomen Zvach and Menachos tells us the Pesach ain't no Batzafo. Say 1 second. Pesach with the blows of Yaakov Nafka. We learn from a different source. Tanya blows of Yaakov Oimer Yechol Pesach Ton Tzafon. Could it be that Korban Pesach needs to be in the north? V'dinu. Let's learn. Uma oilo shloi kovel azman. Korban oilo. You can do it any day of the year. B'shchitos. The shchita can be any day. Kovel tzafon needs to be in the north. Pesach shekovel azman l'shchitosoi. And you did shekovel tzafon. So Pesach, that you do have a specific day. It's only 1 day a year you can do Korban Pesach. And it has to be, it will sure to be the north. My loyal chicken color. So, okay, I can't learn from my loyal. It goes fully in the Mizbech. Pesach, we eat. So it's not the same kedusha. Michatos. We call Michatos. Malachatos can mechaper as a chavikris. You know what Chatos does? Chatos is a kapara, rectifies on a sin of chavikrisus. Different level. Mi'asham, love korban asham that you do in the north. Ma'alosh, which you can kodesh kadosh. What was a kodesh kadosh? It's a level of kedusha. It's an animal kodesh kadoshim. As much kedusha belongs to Hashem. It has meilo. But Mikulu Nami, and the Gemara says, by the way, once I say Kodesh Kadoshim, Oylo and Chato same, Shekodesh Kadoshim, we can't learn Pesach. So I don't have any source to tell you Pesach and so forth. By the way, this is already pointed out, we learned it a little earlier. If a Korban Pesach would be in the north, it would be extremely difficult. Because as we mentioned, Korban Pesach, what happens? You have millions of people coming to Beis Hamikdash. You shechting, and you have three groups. One Pesach tells us 3 groups of people shechting. The 3 groups of people that are shechting, they need to do it all over the if you would imagine that Azar would be very limited. You could do it only here. It would be crazy. Now you can do it everywhere. Go all over the Beis Hamikdash to do it. So we have 4 options what Oysa can come tell you. To tell you that's north, that's something else is north. Something more, I have a problem. So all of them we slugged up. So what do we do with the word Oysa? Back to question number 1. It says the Gemara, going back to answer 2. Answer number 2, Oysa is coming to exclude the person. The person doesn't have to be in the north. We're learning from Rachel. So what did Rachel say? We learn from Mekabel. It says over there, so you tell me that it's only the Mekabel, not the Sheikhet. That pasuk that says Shachas Oyso is back, it's not going to include Sheikhet. And the Achikoma ain't a Sheikhet b'tzafoin. It teaches you the this is the source that the Mekabel is B'tzafon. You have to be that the Kabbalah is B'tzafon. How do I know? Tell them the Gemara assume. Now we know Kabbalah is B'tzafon. So what is the Shachas Oyis Shachas Oyis is going to tell you Tafka the Mekabel, but not the Sheikhet. Oh, so the Gemara now changes it. The Gemara says no. I don't have any other source to tell you that Mekabel thinks that Mekabel is B'tzafon. I don't have that source. This is the source. V'shachat Oisai tell you from here the Mekabel is B'tzafon. Right? That teaches you. Sorry. Look at Rashi. It's a little different. Says Rashi, the Haim the Seir Nafko. And a sheikh right? And that, so from here you learn it. Now Rashi stays with the question because Rashi says, why do you learn from the Oysa itself? But anyway, what is it going to tell me? When I'm saying the pasuk, it says Shachas Oysa is going to tell you only Mikabel is B'tzafon. That's the source. But how do I know only Mikabel, not Sheikhet? Like when I said I can't learn on my own, because what was the reason I can't learn on my own? The reason was, the Gemara said, I can't learn on my own. The Gemara said, maybe I have a different source. So the Gemara said, I have a pasuk for that. We don't have a pasuk. Mekabel says the Gemara, I have a different source. We learn Masechet Zvachim. It says, Lokach ve'lokach nafko. You have the extra vav that tells you over there that needs to be b'tzafon. Lokach ve'lokach l'mashma. He doesn't agree with that. Lokach ve'lokach. This man Amar, so if Rabbi doesn't agree with that, he doesn't have a source for Kabbalah. So how do I know Kabbalah to Shachas Oysa? How do I know to exclude the Sheikhet? Seir Nasi. Seir Nasi, it says Shachat Oysa. Oysa is the animal, not the Sheikhet. So here, the Sheikhet doesn't have to be in the north. Only the animal has to be in the north. That's what's even here. So the animal needs to be in the north, not the Sheikhet. The Kabel person has to be in the Tzafon as well. Sheikhet can be in the Dharam as well. And this is similar to the concept that we know that Shechita can be done by a Zar. So we have here a few kulas that we have, or a few, let's say, Shechita is a little different, because Shechita can be done by a Zar, by not a non-Kohen. Shechita can be done by the south as well. This is brought down in the Kedushas Levi tells us part of the idea is that there's a different avoidance a person has to have. You know, all the avoidance of Beis Hamikdash reference to Tefillah. So he says, why Kabbalah ve'elach mitzvahs keuna? Kohen works only Kabbalah ve'elach. It says the remes. The remes is, when a person is davening, there's different stages of avodah. Tzaddik, where is he holding? There is a stage where a person has to do shechita. Shechita means you have to cut off all the bad. Sur merah, take away all the bad things. There is a stage where a person is already a tzaddik, and now he's already in his avodah. He's not just taking away the bad. Is the kurva to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's mikabel himself. He's elevating himself. It's different stages. That's the remes. Mikabel ve'elach. You have to be mitzvah b'koyin. The koyin is a remes for tzaddik. That's Kabbalah. But shechita is even bizarre. Someone who's not yet there. But so what do? You make sure to take away all the bad things. Take away the bad thoughts when you go davening. Take away all the different things, all the different distractions. That's what you should be avoiding. So shechita is even bizarre. Shechita is even in the south. Shechita can be done without all the different things. Okay. Oh. So we learned that the Menachos in general need to be without chametz. Just to mention it again, the Chazal tell us the chametz. I said it in the chat. The Shomachshos is connected. Listen, that the Chazal tell us that chametz is Yitzhahara. It resembles the bad in the world. So in general, most Menachos that come in the Mizbeach, come in the Beis Mikdash, cannot have chametz in it. Chametz is bad. Now, all year round, in general, usually. There's two exceptions, as we saw in the Mishnah, which is Shtei Alechem and Shavuos, and Korban Toida. We speak the other Shomachshah, why their exclusion. But we have here a din that it needs to be without chametz. It says the Mishnah, if someone does do chametz, he's over on a lav. There's a lav, and I'll do chametz. But you have a lav on each one of the avodas you have on lishaso. Lishaso means when you knead the dough. Arichaso is when you put together the shape of the dough. And afiyasa is when you bake it. If you bake it, you actually have two malchus. What to do, malchus? Achas ala arichaso, v'achas ala afiyaso. One on the setup and one on the afiyah. They're both. When you put it into the oven, part of putting it in the oven and baking it is also making a shape to it.
Even if you weren't the one that did.
Oh, 1 second. So we said when we mentioned in yesterday's daf, the limud from afiyah, we learn afiyah is alone. And from there we learn to everything that's done alone, it's chayav. So you see, it's alone, it's not to give us something else. Depends if he did both, if you set it up and did afiyah, or if his friend did it and he completed it. And here we have a few pirushim in the Rishonim. Let's see Rashi. Rashi himself brings two pirushim. Rashi says the way it's written by us, we use some of the Gersores, but the Gersores here are Arachu v'afahu. The Shidduch Kovetz adds the words Leikil chiyuv v'tarte. You don't have two. Tayu nami orcha. Hilkach leikil chiyuv v'tarte adavai. So if he did both, you're not going to be chayav two on the baking. You're going to be chayav on the original setup and on the baking. Who says Rashi? So his friend did the setup, so he's chayav for that. He finished it, so he does both. Obligated the chayav, even though his friend already is chayav. Who chayav nami alo? Kedamim, come on, we'll see in a moment. So Rashi, the way Rashi says is if he already did the setup, so then you chayav on the setup on its own. But if he didn't do the setup, he didn't set it, he didn't make the design. He just put it into the oven. Now he's chayav too, and his friend is chayav arich. That's what Rashi learns over here. The Tosfos basically learns that he says that it's chayav when you do a feel, you're chayav because you're doing a richa as well, and that he says when Gemara says arachu v'afau means that in addition, Tosfos argues a little in Rashi, as the Chachamim point out. Rashi learns just by putting into the oven one ma'aseh, you will be chayav two things, aricha and afiyah, potentially, unless you already chayav on aricha before, according to the way Shittim Kovetz reads in Rashi. Tosfos learns no, you're not chayav for just putting in the oven for setup. It needs to be that when he puts it into the oven, he shapes it like you have the dough. So now you have the dough, put it into the oven, and then he sets it up a little bit. So while he's putting it into the oven, he does a richa as well. So that's what it means. If he did a richa when he did the afiyah, he's chayav too. If he did a richa, he didn't do afiyah, I mean he didn't touch the design at all, so then he chayav only afiyah. That's the taste is a little different than Rashi. Okay. Now, so what do we see over here? We see over here already, the Gemara is going to tell us, the Gemara is address it in one moment. But what we see over here is that that you could have a chiyuv, multiple chiyuvim, because you will have someone already did the dough chametz. He made the design chametz. Now the guy puts it into the oven, it's chayav again for the chametz. So there's chiyuvim, even though it's already chametz, you're still chayaving it again and again. Says the Gemara. You have a bchor, which is a firstborn animal, and that animal has a din of what? What happens with a bchor when an animal has a bchor? What's the bchor? Bchor has a din kedusha. It's kaddish. Now, if the animal is kaddish, you're not allowed to do anything with it. You have to just bring it to the mizbeach when Beis Mikdash is kaya. If the animal got a blemish, so then you can go and then it belongs to the kohen. The kohen can check it. That's in general. Now, what do we have over here? You have bechor shachazoi dom. What does it mean a chazoi dom? It has too much blood. It's such a concept. You need to it's a sickness which really is defined by the fact that it's too much blood in the body. You have to remove the blood. So what do? Mikizim oisei sadam b'mokov shein oisei b'mum. So you want to take the blood. So you can do a kozas dam. Kozas dam means you could draw the blood, but only in a place where it doesn't make a blemish. What is that? Rashi brings you put it in most of the body where it heals back. So if you make a little, let's say in the stomach of the animal, you make a little insert. What?
Like a mumoy.
The mumoy, you have no choice because the animal's going to die if you don't take out the blood. You cannot take out the blood, right? In other words, what is it like piercing the ear? You can't take out the blood over there. You're not because you're not allowed to make the mum, right? That's what Amir says. Says the Gemara, Yakiz af b'moko shoyse b'mum ubilvad shlo yishchod deloyse mum. Says Rabbanon, you can make a mum over here. The Gemara is going to explain in a moment why. You could make a full-time permanent blemish by taking out the blood, but don't shechten it, right? You don't shechten it. That's Rabbanan. Shimon says, you can also shechter with that mum. Why? So as Rashi points out in Mudav, if Shimon holds, in general, we find in Shas, Shimon holds something you do with no intention, you're potter. He's not intending to do the mum. The intention is to take out the blood. Yes, there will be a mum. I don't care. That's not your kavanah, you're okay. So he says over here that according to Shimon, he could do it. Yehuda says, sheet number 4. Afilu mace a mekizu. I don't care if it dies. You're not going to do any. You're not taking any blood out of that. Okay. Now, what is the reason? According to the beauty Rashi brings over here, because if you can allow him to do a blood to make a blemish, he doesn't make a mum. He'll come to do a blemish. That you're not allowed to do. So he holds like a mayor. You're not allowed to do a permanent blemish, and he's afraid this guy is now. You can't trust him because he's bo al mamonai. So you just don't touch him. Says the Gemara. Oh, what is it in? Meaning, when we have mincha, you're not allowed to do make it chametz. Now, if it was already chametz, you made chametz again. Chayav. That's what we learned in our Mishnah. Why? Because our Mishnah we learned you took a mincha and you made it chametz. Because it's chayav. He prepared a chametz. He put it in the oven. It's already chametz. It's chayav again for making chametz. So you see that it can be chametz multiple times. That's the chametz acham chametz. Tichtiv lo yisos chametz v'lo yisos chametz. That's the two psukim we learned in yesterday's daf. That to learn from there that you still chayav an afiyah even after you prepared it. The misaris acham misaris shu chayov. Misaris means, what will be the English translation of misaris? Castration. Meaning, when you take the ability of an animal to be able to reproduce. Now, what does it mean? You take the aver of the animal, you cut it off. Shuchayav. There's 4 different stages. Moch is crushed. Cause another type of crushing. Notuk means disconnected, and kos means completely moved off. So what does it mean? Nosuk means that they took out in the aver of the animal, it's still connected to the body externally, but internally it's disconnected. Kalrus means it's completely disconnected, the aver of the animal. So what do you mean? Once you have nosuk, what do you have kurus? So the one says, Whatever. Kravis means you completely cut it off. So, sorry, I said the opposite. Kravis is the internal one. Kravis means that it's still connected somewhat. The noisig means it's completely disconnected. So if a yachav semi-disconnected, kosher fully disconnected. So the Pasuk teaches you that one person came and cut off the ear of the animal, but not fully. And another one came and cut off fully, castrated the animal fully. He is chayav. What do you mean? It's already getting reproduced. You see from here Isur D'Oraisa to do it twice. So you see by mechametz, by mincha, doing it twice, doing one after another, you have to. By sirus, doing one after another, you have to. By bchar, what happens when you do mum for a mum? Where it says you can't do any mum. So what does it mean more now? When you have an animal that has blood in it, right now that's a baal mum because it's gonna die, right? So here, if you have this animal that has blood in it, it's baal mum. Says Rameh, you still can't make a mum in it. You can't do another mum. Everybody has a mum. I don't care. Mum acher mum, you can't do. So Rameh holds kol mum lo yeboy. Even if he has them, we can't do another mum. We want to say no, it's already a baal mum. Right? So you made it over here. When you have this animal that has blood in it, it already has the mum. So I have no issue to do a mum. So that's the machlekes we have in this brayser. Meir holds if you have a bchor who has blood, that means it's already baal mum. You can't make a mum. So take and draw the blood in a place where it does not make a permanent blemish. We wouldn't say no, it's already baal mum. You can do a blemish, no problem. Shimon says just don't shecht on it because I don't want you to rely on it and then start eating on it. Shimon says don't shemiskaven. It's okay. And if he knows, I don't let you touch the animal because he holds a kameh. Rameir says Tommy only if it's Tommy, but if it's not Tommy, I have no problem. So Mikor means the Gemara understands he was born a Balmum. You had an animal born without a limb. Balmum is like a dikla. Dikla means like a palm tree. I mean, it's not a kedusha. We know when you have hegdish that has a blemish and you redeemed it, you have to be noya kedusha in it. Can you make a blemish in it after you redeemed it? The answer is yes. You're not allowed to go and shear the animal, do avoid with it. So maybe also you will have an issue to be a balmum. Come on, that's a chiddush that you could do a mum. You can't do a mum after a mum. We buy look at the Tanya v'chol mum lo yeboy and the elish lo yebo mum. Not allowed a blemish. How do you know you can't cause it a mum indirectly? What's the cause? You put some dough or a date on the ear of the animal. The dog will come and take it. While it takes it, he'll make a little piercing of the ear of the animal, make it a baal mum. How do you know that's asur? Told loymar kol mum omar mum v'omar kol mum. Right? So what do you see? Mum kol mum. So mum kol mum tells you can't let it to do indirectly. But now if it has a blemish, you have a problem. So the Gemara basically brings this sugi. What does that have to do with anything? Well, why are we talking about a bchor that has a mum? It's the get to our sugi. We just learned now a rule. So when you have a mincha, which is chametz, you still have the answer to make it chametz. So you have mechametz, it's already chametz. What do you get? It's already chametz. By Pesach, it's chametz, that's it. Another chesur. By mincha, every time it's chametz, you still do an avodah with it. That avodah has a problem, has a lav. So mechametz, it's a problem. Says the Gemara, the same thing. By what about bchor? So that's a machlekes. By bchor, if the bchor already has the mum, for example, has blood in it, so it's already a baal mum, it's already a blemish. Can it cause another mum? That's the machlekes Rameir Chacham over here in the brayser. Rameir says, you cannot cause. You want to take out the blood, take it from a place that doesn't make a mum. Chacham says you could cause it to have a mum. So therefore, that's what depends. That's what we brought to the sugi to see if mum was a problem. The same mechametz is a problem or not. And with this, we will conclude today. Be'ez Hashem, continue from tomorrow. From this point, everybody should have a wonderful, wonderful day.